It's fantastic. Thank you, Tanya. It's pretty impressive. I mean, every time I see this, it's pretty amazing what you see. I've heard some people describe it as scary too. I mean, but it is, and what it can pull out of some of those discussions, especially the live meetings, is very impressive what that can do.
I have a couple of questions if I can just throw those your way, Tanya. Um, you mentioned the fact that Copilot gets better with use. How is it getting better if the data input is not used to train the model?
So the data input in Copilot for the web is not used to train the large language model that is accessible by everyone on the web. When a group decides to get Copilot from Microsoft 365 in their cloud environment, which we call a tenant at Microsoft, those resources, that AI tool is deployed specifically for that tenant, isolated from all other tenants. So, yes, it does learn with your data, with your users, with multiple interactions, but it is contained and confidential within that tenant.
Yep, great. Um, let's see, there's another question here. Can you use it to schedule your tasks in Outlook?
If you actually give it a list of tasks, it can base itself on your calendar and organize your calendar with that list of tasks.
Okay, one more here. When copying drafts generated by Copilot, do the footnotes sources remain embedded when you paste the copy elsewhere?
Actually, my personal experience, yes, they say you need to remove them. But if you paste and you actually copy and paste just the text, those footnotes do disappear.
I actually had one sent to me privately too earlier. I just caught during your demo.
Mhm.
That there's news of ChatGPT 5 coming out. Do you know if there's any plans of integrating that with Copilot, or is there any news on that?
That's a great question. So right now, Copilot is built on GPT-4. So I would assume it will evolve and leverage GPT-5 when that comes available. But keep in mind that it is not Chat GPT. It does leverage that power, but Copilot is actually uses those tools and is infused with commercial data protection. So as the tools evolve, Copilot will evolve as well.
I have another one here. What is Microsoft doing to protect the tenant's data?
So Microsoft has a bunch of tools, cybersecurity, data management tools that are out there. It is the responsibility of each tenant admins to make sure that this is done. Not every organization will have the same needs or the same level of security need as, let's say, a law firm or a medical practice. So it will be very important to rely on your IT team or on PACE Technical in this matter to evaluate what is necessary for your group, for your tenant, and identify those users. So the identity, the access, categorizing the different sensitivity levels of the data sets that you have, this has to be tailored to every tenant. There is no one size fits all. Everyone has different needs, but Microsoft has all the tools in place. And there's been a lot of education made since that was launched for larger enterprises in November, and now to what we call the Cloud Solution Provider channel, the CSP channel, from January 16. So it is important before you actually embark on that adventure to rely on PACE Technical or your IT team to make sure this is done right.
Very similar to the Microsoft 365 model itself, right? Where it's the tools are there, but it's the companies and the IT's responsibility to leverage those security tools to protect the environment based on the approach that company wants to take with their cyber.
Absolutely, it is. And I've been using multiple analogies for this, but AI is a new tool. You have a forest and you need to actually remove some trees. Well, you can't hire a company and expect they will know which trees they need to cut down. You actually need to identify these trees and tell them what to cut down. Or if you buy that new chainsaw, that new tool, it will work, but you need to learn how to use it. The prompting is also very important.
So just a further question on the same topic. So understanding that the internal risk and the management around that, what about third-party risks? Can you provide more specifics on what Microsoft is doing to prevent, I guess, third-party data leaks from this?
I am not sure I get the whole sense of that question, but I assume it is external attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So anything external, Microsoft does actually provide email protection, does provide endpoint protection tools. That is one thing I mentioned earlier, but every users that actually access company information through email on their cell phone, very important to control that firm's data on those mobile devices. So mobile device management, if anything is done on personal computers, also those computers need to be signed up in a device management tool. So again, this is always the tenant's admin to manage this. So external attacks can happen. MFA is the first thing you need to enable. Email security, information protection, so DLP policies for internal unintentional risks. That is also important. We all are very busy in our day-to-day, so I am guilty of clicking on links I shouldn't have because I was doing too many things at the same time and very focused on the task at hand. That I got an email, seemed legit at the first 1 second look, and I did click on that. So that was unintentional. But that email protection becomes really important. And to protect from the outside, well, everything that is endpoint and email protection is very important. So those tools are there. You need to make sure they are set up appropriately to that organization's need, to that firm's need.
Okay, thank you. Some pricing licensing related questions. So is Copilot part of Microsoft 365? And if not, is there an extra monthly fee?
Very good question. So let's talk about the two options of Copilot we discussed today. The Copilot for the web, which was before called Bing Chat Enterprise. That Copilot will be included with minimal bundles with Microsoft. And I would assume probably everyone in your firm does have access to that. You can actually reach out to your Microsoft provider or Pace Technical in that matter to ask them if they can confirm you do have access to it. So this is no additional cost.
And when you're referring to bundles, it's the Microsoft 365 bundles we're talking about.
Correct. So I'm referencing the Business Standard, Business Premium, Office C3, Office C5. So those bundles do include the Copilot for the web. Now, the Copilot for Microsoft 365, the one that you have in each of your day-to-day application, that one has a cost. And hold on, this cost is not possible to spread across 12-month payment. It is an upfront payment on a 1-year commitment. So when you actually purchase these licenses, very important that you have done everything prior to prepare, because this has a Canadian cost of $488.40 per year. Per user. Exactly, Tyler. And one thing that I do recommend, don't roll it out to everyone to start. Choose a few users that will be part of a focus group and that will meet maybe once a week, twice a week for half an hour to discuss their wins, their challenges, evaluate how much time that tool actually helped them save, how much stress they've been able to reduce because they have access to that tool. On a personal note, I have to say that I've had so many challenges when I started to use this at first because the mindset is around Google prompting. Prompting an AI tool is not natural. We need to learn how to do it. We need to learn where the limits are, and we need to accept that this is a brand new assistant. They need training. Just like a human being, if you give them a bunch of files and tell them, go file this. What is your filing structure? Where should they put this? They need a little more guidance. Same thing as Microsoft 365 Copilot. So that focus group will help you set best practices, identify groups of users that can really benefit from that AI tool before you start rolling it out to everyone. Because you want to make sure to get good return on investment. That really needs to help your team and not cause them more challenges, if I can say.
Yeah, it's a good strategy, and that's what we've been doing at Pace. We've been scaling it up, started with a small group, and now expanding it out now that we know really relevant use cases and who will get the value from it.
Absolutely.
So here's a good one too. So is there an open resource to assist with learning the basics relevant prompts? So I guess some sort of training around Copilot and how to get started or use it once you have it.
Yes, there is. So there's the Microsoft Copilot Lab that will help you prompt. On this deck, I think the last slide gives you 10 things you should first try with Microsoft 365 Copilot once you get it. But that Copilot Lab, we can share the link as well, will really help you with your prompting. And if you're using Copilot for the web at first, this is where you can test, and there's no risk because it's not leveraging your own data, and it's commercial data protected if you actually paste or use your data specific to your law firm.